All right, everybody. Welcome to Sports Politicen presents Agree to Disagree. Thank you for joining us. As always, we appreciate your time. You can catch us on Facebook, Sports Politicen presents Agree to Disagree, and on Twitter at Sports Politicen. Feel free to catch us on any of those. Message us. We'll respond back. Give us your thoughts. Maybe it can turn into something we talk about in the next show. We're going to kick off with introductions. I'm Alan Hinton. I live in Wilmington, North Carolina, from Chesapeake, Virginia. You can find me on Twitter at A-79.
I'm Leonard Lynch Jr., originally out of Killeen, Texas, currently residing in Houston, Texas. You can catch me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Lynch Jr. Hit us up at the Sports Politicen.
I'm man John Turner from living currently in Chesapeake, Virginia via Newport News. You can follow me on Twitter at Everybody Loves John, ERBODY, Loves John, at Luke Cage. Great show, by the way. And speaking of things that have been great in sports, or maybe not so much, I guess depends on your perspective, is Russell Westbrook. And I'm going to talk about the narrative that is currently surrounding Russell Westbrook and his revenge tour now that Durant's in Golden State. Let me start off first by saying I'm a huge Russell Westbrook fan. I love his game. I love the strides that he's made towards becoming a pure point guard for the purists, those who want traditional point guards. Russell Westbrook will never be that, but he's made great strides. What I have an issue with is the narrative that's surrounding him about his revenge tour and how that translates to him possibly winning the MVP. In the beginning of the year, well, not the beginning of the year, but after the finals, I said that the front runners for the MVP, not necessarily who I think should win, who I think has the best chance to win, were Russ, Westbrook, and LeBron. LeBron has his own reasons, but Russ was because, and the narrative had already started, and I hate narratives more than anything in sports. So the narrative that started was Russ is going to put up these insane numbers, and these insane numbers are going to help him win the MVP. Now, for those who know about how the MVP is voted, you generally have to be on a great team, at least top four. The last person to win it, and they were with not 1, 2, or 3, I believe it was Karl Malone when he won over Jordan in 97, 98. The last few have been within 1, 2, or 3, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't think that OKC, a lot would have to go right for them to win. And I feel like the narrative has won people MVPs before. Steve Nash, Derrick Rose, sorry, Allen Iverson. And I say that as a person from Newport News. And again, I love him, but he didn't deserve that MVP. And I feel like this narrative is so far out of control, it doesn't really matter what he does. Personally, if you create the most value for your team, you should win. I don't think Russ Westbrook is going to be able to sustain this all year. They've barely beaten the teams that they've won, and they've all been bad teams. So if they're going to be consistent with how they've given MVP out, don't follow the narrative and follow who's on the winning team. Me personally, if he's the most deserving, then he should get it, regardless of team record. But I feel like that narrative has started, and because of the narrative, he's going to get the MVP independent of what the previous standards were set. And I don't think that it would be anything of them finally growing up and saying, well, this standard has been stupid the entire time. I think they would just give it to him based on the standard that was set.
So my thoughts on the Russell Westbrook narrative, whenever I hear about it, when I hear about that narrative, I hear about, how he's going to take over and prove that he was better than Kevin Durant, didn't need Kevin Durant, whatever the case may be, and that will end in an MVP. I kind of agree with you in that the narrative is false. I'm not going to get into who was better. I think everybody knows I'm a big Kevin Durant fan. But I think they played relatively well off each other, especially in the last couple of years as Russ started to create more, like you said, took steps towards being a more pure point guard. I can't say pure point guard because I don't think he'll ever be one. But one of the things that you kind of talked about, but not really in depth, was last year when he was by himself, when Durant got hurt, he put up numbers like this, and they still lost games. I don't always like that the MVP has to come from a good team, but as you pointed out, the teams that they've beat just have not been good, and they've been close games. So if he's putting up triple doubles every night and this team wins 34, 38 games, now I'm not predicting it, I'm just saying if they win 34, 38 games, I don't see how you could give him an MVP, even if he does have a historic season. I also wonder, with this style of play, how he's playing and how long he's got to do it, if he's going to be able to play 82 games. I can't see him finishing this whole season. And if something happens and he gets hurt this season, that team's going to fall apart. And I think that obviously that helps his Hall of Fame, not Hall of Fame, his All-Star chances, or at least the conversation by it. But I don't think he's going to do enough consistently enough to really warrant it. Now, if they make the playoffs at all, like I don't even think they need to be a top 3 seed. If they make the playoffs at all with him playing like this, I think you have to give him the MVP. I just really can't see that happening. I would love for it to. I like the fact he decided to stay. I like the loyalty and all of that, but
don't do that.
But it would be nice to see him get it just as a reward for that. And you know how much the NBA and sports these days in general loves that kind of story. I just can't see it happening.
Yeah, I'm actually, I guess, somewhat in agreement with you because, well, this is Turner's first. Everybody agreed. Only thing was keeping time, 5 minutes.
Now y'all want to agree.
But I agree from the standpoint of it's pushed a little bit too much. The thing that I see him doing is what he's doing now is what he did when Kevin Durant was there. Mm-hmm. It's on a higher scale now because he's the only one there. With Kevin Durant, the times Kevin Durant went hurt, the times Kevin Durant went down, he triple-double tears, and people are like, oh my God, look at him. He's a viable candidate. But can he keep it up when Kevin Durant comes back? And of course, because he has to give up shots, because he has to give up the ball to Kevin Durant, because he's a star in his own, superstar in his own right. So that hindered him somewhat. But I think now all we're going to see is that same guy just for 82 games. Well, not 82. I don't think he stays healthy for a full year. But that's what we're going to see out of him. And if it gets him the MVP candidacy, then so be it, because his numbers speak alone, even without the narrative. If he's averaging 25, 26 points a game with 10 points and 7, 8 boards, why wouldn't he be an MVP candidate? I mean, who else is going to, other than LeBron, which I think he's going to have a down year anyway, other than LeBron, who else is going to put up numbers like that? So I think his off sheer numbers, he could win it if he does what people think he's going to do. And it's not so much based off the narrative as it is his stats and what he's done. I just want to see what you have to say about that, Turner.
I just feel like the narrative is going to get completely out of control, especially like one of the triple doubles, he shot 17 for 44.
Yeah.
I don't really like y'all know my long-term stance on triple doubles. I think they're highly overrated. Highly overrated. And I don't think 10, 10, and 10 is better than 29, 8, and 8, but 10, 10, and 10 is a triple double. And I'm not saying Westbrook's has some efficient triple doubles. So I'm not saying all triple doubles are created equally. I just think if we look at the term triple double as a standalone term, it overrates the value of what it is. Because if you get 28 points on 50% shooting with 9 rebounds and 9 assists, is that really better than 28 points on 40% shooting with that? Again, I just can't. I don't like where the narrative is going. Again, if he's deserving of the MVP, if his numbers, y'all know I'm a numbers guy, if his numbers and his impact on his team, regardless of team record, suggests he should be the MVP, I'm all for it. But I don't think this one man tour de force is going to have the impact necessary.
Yeah. As I said earlier, I don't see him being able to keep it up for the whole season. But if he does and make the playoffs, you got to give it to him. But I just don't see a guy who's got to take 40 shots a game. And I don't think he took 40 shots just because it was an anomaly. I think that's really what they need. I don't see a secondary scorer. I don't trust Oladipo at all. I like Steven Adams, but he's not at this point an offensive player. There's nobody there with him that can carry the load offensively. So he's got to be the one to take the shots. I don't think this will be his only 40-point game of the season, as much as I hate to say it, because I hate point guards taking more than 20 shots a game. But he's got to if they're even going to have a chance to win games.
Yeah, I got to agree with that. I think where he took those 44 shots is because who else is going to take those shots? You don't have, and I think most thing people focus on is that they lost Kevin Durant, but they also lost Serge Ibaka. So guys are gone now. So he's taking over both of their shots because you're going to trust Steven Adams to take Serge Ibaka's shots and Oladipo to take Kevin Durant shots? No, you're going to give it to Russ. So I think the reason why he's going to be taking so many shots, attempting so many shots, is because they have nobody else. They essentially have nobody else. And Oladipo is just a poor man's Russell Westbrook. So, I mean, it's two of the same guy. So that's all they have to rely on at this moment. So I agree with that. The narrative is a little too much. I think it's a more anxiousness by everyone just to see how crazy he can go. Interesting. But I don't think he can do it for a whole season.
Either that or Oladipo's a rich man's Deion Waiters, one or the other.
Oh, God. Deion Waiters gets no airtime on this. Nope.
I'm just saying, man, he's starting in Miami now.
Like, Miami is bereft of talent.
So is OKC.
Hey, man, leave my team alone. Leave my team alone. Trash. All right, so for our second topic for today, it's going to be Cam Newton and his response to all the not getting. And now what we've got right now is Cam Newton, as most people have heard, he's complaining about the non-calls he's getting. You watched the game against Arizona this weekend. You saw the was broken where Calais Campbell hit him below the knee in the pocket while he's throwing, which is what knocked Brady out a few years back, and which hence came the Brady rule where you can't hit a quarterback below the knee in the pocket. But right in front of the referee, no flag was thrown. Now, if you watched it, I don't think it was malicious at all. I don't think he intended to try to hurt Cam. I think he was falling down. He was losing his balance. He was trying to make the play. And happens when those hits happen. But even though it's not malicious, it still gets called. It might not be the intent to hit him below the knee, but you still hit him below the knee. It's not so much your intent. It's the action that actually happened, which is what we've seen with so many other quarterbacks, with Drew Brees, with Andy Dalton, with Kirk Cousins, with Tom Brady, Carson Palmer. These guys, if they get hit in the pocket like that, there's going to be a call. The main thing I've seen from most people is, oh, well, he's just so big. That's why. That's bull crap, man. That's bull crap. The only person as far as size and athleticism would be Big Ben, and he gets that same type of stuff. That he gets hit like crazy. But if he gets hit below the knee, they're calling. If he gets hit in the head, or looks like he's getting hit in the head, they're calling that. Now, when he's outside the pocket and he's running, that's a different story. That's a gray area because he's looking like a runner. He's already bigger than everybody. He's faster than everybody. But when he's in the pocket, protect him. He was the MVP. As much as people hate that he was the MVP of the last year, he was the MVP of the league. Guys of that caliber get protection whether we like it or not. In the NBA, it was called the Jordan calls, where you breathe on Jordan, it was a call. You breathe on Kobe, it's a call. In the NFL, this quarterbacks, Peyton Manning, he got those calls. He just look at a ref, the guy hit me, there's a flag. Tom Brady, same thing, there's a flag. You protect those guys, and he's not getting that same protection. Now, I think the way he came about it was a little wrong. What he started talking about is not feeling safe. And you're in a barbaric sport as football. You can't say at any moment that you don't feel safe. Like, people are going to take that as a sign of weakness that you don't feel safe. He can't say that. I think he's absolutely correct, though, in saying that teams are teeing off on him. Like on that the Thursday night game to open the season opener against my Broncos, we teed off on him. In the head, we were hitting him low, we were hitting him in the pocket. Every chance we got, we were hitting him. But the reason is because we're not getting those. He's not getting those calls. He's not getting those calls. It doesn't matter who he's playing. He doesn't get those calls while the opposing quarterback does. Now, like I said before, I can't really say too much about outside the pocket. There's not too much you can do about that. But when he's in the pocket and he's taking those hits, because his line isn't that good. Mike Rimmers has been getting crushed again. Ever since that Super Bowl, he's been getting crushed by everybody. And he's getting smashed left and right in the pocket. Calls, late hits, shots to the chest. Like, there's no reason why Drew Brees or more personal fouls or roughing the passers than Cam Newton when he's getting smashed, and we see it every single game. We see that he's getting smashed. Even if he's bigger, you can still see he's getting hit. So you make those calls. And any other time, was a defenseless receiver or anything, the referee's going to err on the side of caution and throw the flag. But with Cam Newton, we don't see that. I don't understand why. I won't pretend to know a reason why that's happening. But at this time, he's not getting those calls. And he did go talk to Goodell. I guess they had a phone call today. But there's no real way to pinpoint why it's happening. But it needs to stop. He needs to start getting these calls. Much as people hate to see it, he is the face of the league, the MVP or a Super Bowl contender. So he should be getting these calls.
Well, I'm not sure they're a Super Bowl contender anymore, but I would say that I agree with you. I think the common thread, though, is his size and the fact that it doesn't look like it's hurting him. And the fact that, let's be honest, like Cam, I'm not going to say he hasn't done himself any favors, but in the mind of some, the press conference, the fact that he said being a black quarterback, and I went there, being a black quarterback, people don't like that. He's not going to gain any sympathy from anyone. I personally don't feel that way. But in the minds of some, and then when it sounded like he was crying because he wasn't getting the hits, people are going to look at him similar to how they look at LeBron and say, you're so much bigger and more physically imposing than everyone. You don't get to complain about that. The problem that I have is, and again, I don't think it's race, because I don't always think Ben gets those calls. Ben's not athletic as Cam either, so I want to put that out there. But Ben doesn't always get those calls. Ben gets killed sometimes. But because of his size, like, it doesn't really look like it. I agree that he should get more calls. I don't necessarily know that just from a public perception point, he should be the one caping for it, because it doesn't make him look good based on other things that he said and how he's been perceived by others. I don't think that it's a good look for him to do that. I think that his coach, Ron Rivera, I think that maybe his GM, I believe Gettleman is still the GM. I could be wrong there. I feel like somebody needs to cape for him. Then I heard, what was the offensive lineman's name? Marcus Gilbert, who said that he doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't understand why he's complaining. Like, you could look at those hits and be like, yo, those aren't normal hits that he's taken. And I don't like how, if you're not gonna speak up in defense of him in this case, shut the hell up. Like that kind of stuff just isn't necessary. You know what I mean? You play offensive line, yes, it's physical, but like you're not getting hit every play. So no, I agree. The punishment that he gets is unfair. The way that it's been going about though, I don't necessarily think it's gonna look good from him from a public perception standpoint just because of things that have been said in the past. Fair or unfair. And I believe it's unfair, but I think that someone else has to cake for him. I do.
I agree when it comes to Cam Newton not being the one to speak up for himself. I think it definitely would help if someone does, take up his cause. I agree with you that if you're not going to help, you should shut up. I don't know why Marcus Gilbert, who plays for a team with a quarterback who also takes a lot of hits,
exactly.
But gets the calls, is the guy who speaks up. I mean, they've consistently had a below average or average at best offensive line since Ben's been there. And part of that, of course, is him holding the ball for a long time. But also, that was what I was going to say. Ben is the closest comparison in size, like you said, Lentz, but he's a guy who holds the ball for a really long time. A lot of the hits that he takes are because of the fact that there are people barreling down on him as he's getting rid of the ball because he's had it for 4 or 5 seconds. Cam's not really in that same situation, and it's obvious, like you said, a lot of the hits that he's taken have just been illegal. I agree with you. Going back to that Denver game, it looked like they were just hitting him any kind of way because they felt like they could get away with it. One stat that I read, and it was early in the year, I can't remember the exact stat, but I believe to this point in his career as a starter, he's only drawn 5 personal foul penalties, which is insane. When you think about how much and how often he gets hit, there's no way. I'm pretty sure the average starting quarterback draws more than that in a year. There's no way anybody's even close to that low that's been starting for as long as he has. So it's hard to look at the numbers, look at what happened and say that he's getting a fair deal. And I hear the same thing about him being so big, so it probably doesn't hurt him. But that's not the point. The rules aren't there to protect people who are getting hurt. The rules to protect people who play a certain position. They put these rules in because they want to protect quarterbacks, not small quarterbacks. They're not just trying to protect Russell Wilson and Drew Brees. They're trying to protect quarterbacks. So if they want to show that, first off, player safety matters, and second off, that they want to be equal, they have to treat each player equally. You can't look at a guy and say, well, he's 6 inches and 50 pounds heavier than Russell Wilson. It probably doesn't hurt in the same way. It shouldn't matter. It doesn't matter.
And another point on this Cam Newton on how he's officiating, you got to remember in the beginning of the season, after that Denver game, Thomas Davis came out and started speaking out about it. His own linebacker started, he's getting hit. And it's not just him getting, because before he was getting hit and he was taking those hits to the body. But now he's taking those hits to the head. He's taking those hits to the knees. And if you're a defender and you're a defender for the Panthers, you know that if you hit someone else like that, they're going to get the call. So why isn't your quarterback getting the same calls? Like, you got to protect. Everybody says, which I disagree with, quarterbacks run the league. It's a quarterback league. If you don't have a quarterback, you can't win. So why isn't this guy who was the MVP, the quote-unquote best player in the league last year, who was voted number one as the player, number one player in the league by players, why is he getting these calls? Why isn't he getting this protection? And I think it's more of that Shaq factor or LeBron factor, as Turner brought up, that he's just so much bigger. It doesn't look like it hurts. When you're bigger, when you're a bigger guy going against smaller guys, it doesn't look as bad. When Drew Brees gets hit and he falls, it looks painful because he's 2'2". So when he gets hit, it looks bad. So I think that's a huge contributor, but I just don't agree with that though, because like you said, Alan, the rules aren't in place to make, if it looks bad, defensive receivers, if it looks bad, then they're going to take the call. But you got to protect these guys in the pocket. Now, when he's outside the pocket, I got to say it's fair game, man. He's 6'5", 260. You outside the pocket, you can take off running at any time and be faster than most of the players you're going against on your defense. So that's fair game. But when he's in the pocket and in between those tackles, they have to protect him. There's no choice. They have to.
Yeah, I agree. Outside of the tackle, when he breaks out, I don't really have a problem. It isn't like it was with Michael Vick, when he takes a hit and goes flying out of bounds and gets no calls. Most of the time, when he's out of the pocket, when Cam get hit, like you said, the guy was hitting him is smaller than he is. Obviously, there's still rules against that, so I'd like to see it called even. But when you're a runner, things change, and I think sometimes he forgets that. Robert Griffin was kind of in that same boat. They think because they're quarterbacks, they need to be protected. Obviously, he's a little bit more durable than Robert Griffin is. A lot more durable than Robert Griffin is.
I was about to say he's a lot more durable than Robert Griffin, not just a little bit.
But both of those guys kind of in the same category. That basically get like once you break out of the pocket and become a runner, you don't have the same protections. I don't think there's really been a lot of incongruence around the league when you're looking at quarterbacks that get out of the pocket. I think they all kind of get the same treatment. It's just there's a number of guys who don't like that treatment. They feel like they should have the same protection, and that's just not the case. But when he's in the pocket, I think there's a lot of change that needs to happen.
Yeah, I'm definitely with y'all on all points. We're agreeing a lot tonight, so I don't know what's going on. We need to find something to disagree on. But yeah, and I just really feel that I don't necessarily think this is a case of him speaking on it is bringing awareness to it in a good way. I feel like y'all remember the whole thing with the Ed Hockley ageism thing back in the day when he was talking about calls and Ed basically Cam allegedly said that Ed said that you haven't been in the league long enough to request that. I mean, that's why I don't necessarily think him caping for himself is doing him good. Again, not his fault or anything like that. Not his fault, but I just think that him caping for himself isn't the best thing in this case.
I tell you what, I would love to see other quarterbacks kind of take up his case. Like if Tom Brady or Drew Brees or Eli Manning, unfortunately, he's one of the last like big names out there. If one of those, if one of those guys came out there and said, "Yeah, I've been watching the games and Cam gets abused," it'd be really hard for the NFL to deny it. When Cam Newton's the only quarterback that's coming out and saying it, he doesn't have the same power as it would if somebody else came out and agreed with him. I don't really see that happening, but I would love it if it did.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, I don't see why they would do that because they're getting calls. So why do they care what Cam Newton's is getting or not getting? I mean, that's a 2-5 team. I'm worried about my team. I'm worried about my linebacker who's getting traded to the Browns for a fourth round pick. So I mean, screw Cam Newton. He can't do nothing for me. He goes, hell, I got to go against him twice a year, so I hope he don't get those calls.
Right. The more he gets hit, the better for your defense.
Yeah. But I do believe someone else has to speak up for him. It's with anything. It's a catch-22 because nobody knows about your problem and you don't say it. But if you say it, then you're whining it. So
right.
Good with the bad, I suppose.
Or just the bad by itself in this case. But I honestly think it'll change, but it'll be a little while. Maybe once he hits 30 and he's starting to get hurt, they'll care.
Mm-hmm.
So our last topic for the night is future Hall of Famers that are currently playing in the NFL. We limited it to 5 for each of us. This topic for me started with somebody in our actual group bringing up Julius Peppers and whether he was a Hall of Famer when he retired. And thinking about that, I got to thinking about how many guys that are in the league are Hall of Famers. Lynch and I were talking before we got on, and it was actually kind of hard to limit to 5. There's more than a handful of guys who probably should be Hall of Famers and hopefully will. So I'm going to go straight down my list, no particular order. I think the first ones will probably be pretty easy consensus, but for me, Larry Fitzgerald, youngest receiver to reach 1,000 yards, He holds 7 records in NFL, including most touchdown catches in the preseason, youngest to 100 catches, and then, like I said, the youngest to reach 11,000 career yards. He's currently 5th all-time in yards per game. He's a 9-time Pro Bowler, which is huge considering he's played 13 years. He's got 103 touchdowns career. Like, his numbers and the fact that he's probably one of the most consistent receivers in NFL history, I think, has to get him there. I don't know the numbers, but he's got to be towards the top in drop percentage, and by top I mean least drops. There's just not a lot of guys that catch balls with consistent that he had. I think last year, the year before, he had a pretty rough year, but other than that, his career, he's been a consistent guy, one of the best pass catchers ever. Second for me on my list was Tom Brady. You can say what you want to say about the debate whether he's the best ever. I don't particularly think he is, but that doesn't really matter in the Hall of Fame conversation. 17 seasons, 6 Super Bowl trips, which is more than any quarterback ever. He's won more playoff games than any quarterback ever. He's currently 5th in career passing yards, 3rd in touchdown passes, and he's a 3-time MVP. Those are numbers that you can't argue. Obviously, people talk about the system and whether he's a system quarterback or not. The reality is, whether he is or not, he's great in that system. And that's really what matters the most. So the success that he's had over the length of time that he's had, with the exception of 1 or 2 seasons where he missed most of the games, to me makes it obvious. As I spoke on earlier, Julius Peppers, I think, is definitely a Hall of Famer when he retires. He's been in 9 Pro Bowls, was a defensive player in his 3rd year in the league, 3-time All-Pro. He's the only player in NFL history with 100 sacks and 10 interceptions. More than anything, being that versatile, I think, is one of the things that'll keep him on the list when it comes. I don't know if he'll be first ballot, but the fact that he's played 15 years and has the longevity and success that he's had, I think it would be a disservice to keep him out. I know there were some thoughts that he took plays off towards the end of his career in Carolina and at points in Chicago, but he's been so good doing so many things for so long. He's 5th all time, I think, in forced fumbles. So he creates sacks, he creates fumbles, he picks off passes. He does pretty much everything that you got stats for defensive linemen or outside linebackers. He's playing linebacker in the 3-4 now, but he's a guy who has been so consistently good when healthy for a very long time. And I think that more than anything is what gets him in. Don't have a lot of stats for him because it's hard for offensive linemen, but my number 4 guy was Joe Thomas. This is his 10th year. He's not in the first 9 years. He's made the Pro Bowl 9 times. You can talk about, how important the Pro Bowl is these days. It's not what it used to be, but that consistency says something. He's a 6-time first-team All-Pro. He gave up half of a sack last season, and a lot of people talked about him having a down year last year. So obviously, I know Turner's got his feelings on the sack stat, but to only have given up 1/2 sack the whole season, that's saying something. My last one is Jason Witten. He hasn't missed a start since he hasn't missed a stat since his start since his rookie year. He's 2nd all time in touchdown catches, 2nd all time in catches for a tight end. Both of those were for tight ends. 10th most all time in catches just in general. His consistency and him being healthy, I think, is what gets him on the list. I hate the fact that he's a Cowboy, but he's actually honestly been one of my favorite tight ends ever. And I finished right on.
So, okay, so I'm with you on all of the people that you named. I'm not the biggest Larry Fitzgerald fan because I think he's really a possession receiver, but I can't deny him for the Hall of Fame. So and he has among the best hands all time. Even though I think just looking at hands solely is an overrated aspect of looking at somebody, because you can catch the ball all day, but if you only average 11 yards a catch, but I'm not knocking Larry. Well, I don't mean to. I just don't think he was really dominant. I mean, he only made the All-Pro team one time, so he's going to get in the Hall of Fame. I just don't think he was dominant. Jason Witten is an interesting one. I've always been a big fan of his. I think he gets in. But the thing with him and Peppers, well, not Peppers. Peppers is a different case. Witten wasn't looked at as really a dominant tight end, but he's somebody for me that, yeah, I mean, consistency. Yeah, I could see that. Brady, I think, only won 2 MVPs, not 3, but obviously he's a Hall of Famer. Somebody like Adam Vinatieri, Drew Brees, I think Brees for sure is in. He has a case as the second best modern quarterback behind Peyton.
Disagree.
So,
You said Drew Brees is second best?
he has a case. Yeah,
No.
he has a case.
That's Brady hate. That's Brady hate.
No. I don't. Again, whatever. I like Brady. I like Brady. I do. I just think that offense helps him out a lot more than other elite quarterbacks. Peppers is an interesting case for me because his career, it gives the impression of underwhelming based on his physical talent and what he's flashed at times. So I think he gets in, but it might be a while because he had the potential and the physical capability to be one of the best of all time after Reggie, even before Bruce. So, but because I feel like he underwhelmed, that's going to hold him back some in the minds of some voters. Vinatieri, I don't think he gets in because I think people will only remember. I mean, he's been a Colt longer now. This is like his 11th season with the Colts or something like that. So people will remember him more with the Colts than the Patriots. And the Colts haven't really had any success outside them going to the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I don't know about Vinatieri, but yeah, I think all of those are good choices that you named.
So for my 5 locks, do I have going to the Hall of Fame, walking in? I'm gonna do mine a little differently than y'all's. I'm gonna say what my 5 are off top, and then I'm gonna go back and now my number 1 right off the top, Thomas. I think he's a lot. I mean, since day 1, he's been the left tackle, the best left tackle in the game. He's been dominant since he first got there. And like Alan said, he gave up half a sack last year. He's been doing that his whole career. And then you got to think about it. He's been doing it in Cleveland. That's ridiculous. But I got Joe Thomas, I got Tom Brady, Adrian Peterson, Julius Peppers, and Larry Fitzgerald. I think it's a lot. Tom Brady and Joe Thomas, I think those are the only 2 first ballot ones that I have. I think as soon as they retire 5 years later, they're walking into the Hall because of Tom Brady, of course, because people are enamored with the rings, which I know Turner hates, but his stats along with those rings are ridiculous to me. Joe Thomas, like I said, he's been dominating in Cleveland with the quarterbacks who played behind him, and he's still be able to keep them all upright, except Robert Griffin, but you know how that goes. Julius Thomas is actually really interesting to me for the reasons that Turner brought up. Julius Peppers, sorry, not Julius Thomas, Mr. Non-Catch, whatever. But Julius Peppers.
Julius Thomas, I was going to log you off.
Julius Peppers has been great his entire career. It's just like Turner said, you just expected more, which I think is also, I guess, kind of heaping praise on him because you expected so much more, but then you look back at what he's done and like, damn, he still has done a whole lot. So
right.
Can you knock him for not being better than what you thought he should be? He's in because of that. Larry Fitzgerald, I'm on anything possible talking about how much I love Larry Fitzgerald. I don't think he was ever the best receiver in the game, probably not even the top 2 receiver in the game, but he's consistently been best his entire career. I mean, he was in the same era as Moss, same era as T.O. between those two, and I think those after Jerry Rice are the top two guys ever. But he got stuck with that. But he's been consistent his entire career, even with the that have been in Arizona. He still produced, which I know for Turner is a huge thing. Guys producing with terrible quarterbacks, but he's produced, so you can't knock him for that. And Adrian Peterson, I mean, he has the chance to go down as running back of all time. So, off of that as well, I want to go on. He sent us in his top five, which weren't really a top five. No purpose. He's not going to stick to whatever he says to do. So for him, he had Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Adam Vinatieri, Adrian Peterson, Darrelle Revis, Sebastian Janikowski, Gore. That's his Hall of Famers.
I would love to agree with Revis. I just don't think he's done it consistently enough for long enough. There was only really a couple years where Darrelle Revis was really that scary, in my mind, at least. Y'all may disagree with that. Darrelle Revis hasn't been that great for long enough, to me.
I agree with that. I think he was really good, but it was really for like a 3-4 year period.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. Like, nobody had played the level of QB like him since, see cornerback like him since Dion. Who was as good as him for that long?
But how long was he really that good, though?
He was basically the anchor of those elite Jets defenses. That whole defense was built around him. They
that
got
was like 4 or 5 years, though, when you really think about it.
But how long do you really need? Like, what I don't understand is we can't say in one vein Larry Fitzgerald is in when he didn't dominate any years. Revis was the best of his position for between 3 and 5 years. And it wasn't like the rest of the years were just dreadful years. He had a few years that were, to me, I value dominance and peak over longevity. So I get someone who values consistency, but if I'm looking at stuff like that, I look at dominance and peak. And Revis's peak to me was champ Dion light. And I'll just say champ because I can quantify champs more with advanced stats. I don't really know if Dion dominated like everybody says he did. but that definitely, again, that whole defense was built around him. The entire defense.
I don't think that dominance is fair. Just because you had 1 or 2 dominant years doesn't make you a Hall of Famer. The fact that for 13 years, Larry Fitzgerald has been consistently great, even if he wasn't the greatest, being top 5 at your position for that long, that's noteworthy. Longevity is a big thing. You can't understate how hard it is to keep coming back and keep coming back when people know you're the guy they're going to. Once Anquan Bolden got traded, there wasn't any question about, who was getting the ball in tough situations, who else they wanted to have the ball. You knew Larry Fitzgerald was the guy.
And you keep saying stats and everything, but if you look at his stats, he was dominating. Like, what more can you do? He had great years for over 1,000 yards. And the only time he dipped under that is when he started breaking down in 2012 when he had those bad quarterbacks. And even still, he still almost had 1,000 yards. So he's producing. He produced out the gate, and he's produced every single year.
But it's 1,000. He was 1,000 yards dominating though.
He had 1,100 yards. He was 8 yards away from 1,100 yards. This was from 2007 to 2011. 1,400 yards, 1,431, 10,092, 1,137, 1,400. That's with the lowest being 2011. He had 80 catches, 90 catches and above. So he produced. He was killing.
But again, I never said he didn't produce. That's not what I said. It's the difference between producing and dominating. Those are two different things. I don't think his numbers were ever dominant. You know what I mean? Dominant is Moss, T.O., Marvin Harrison. I'm going to be honest, and this is probably biased. I think Reggie Wayne dominated more than Larry Fitzgerald.
What?
Out to
I do.
What?
I
That's
do.
straight bias.
No,
Wow.
I disagree with that. And y'all lucky my computer is messed up right now, so I can't type up and go to profootballreference.com. Y'all are lucky. Y'all are lucky. Y'all are lucky. I feel like Reggie.
I'll do
The
it for
only
you.
thing
I will
those
do it for you.
receivers you named have over Larry Fitzgerald is yards per catch. I mean, I promise you, has out-caught most of those guys consistently. He just isn't getting the.
I mean, well, yards per catch is a big thing, though, because that's.
I'm not saying it's not, but I'm also saying that you can't discount everything he did do because of one thing that you wanted to have done better.
But that's not what I'm doing. I'm not saying he's not a. I'm not saying he's not a Hall of Famer. I'm just saying that he wasn't dominant to me. That's it. I ain't saying he's not a Hall of Famer. I ain't saying he hasn't produced, but I'm just saying that he didn't dominant in relation to other receivers in his peer group. I don't think he stood out from a dominant standpoint. He stood out from a consistency standpoint. And because I value dominance over consistency, that's what I'm speaking of.
You say Reggie Wayne. Reggie Wayne has one year over 1,400 yards. Larry Fitzgerald has 4. Has 3 years where he caught over 10 touchdowns. 5. The fact that Reggie Wayne spent his entire career playing with Peyton Manning, who's arguably the greatest greatest quarterback ever, when Larry Fitzgerald was playing with who?
And again, I can't look at it right now because of my computer, which is stupid. But again, that could be biased. I acknowledge that. Obviously, playing with Peyton Manning is a godsend to some of the poo-poo platter that Larry Fitzgerald has played with. It's also known that Larry Fitzgerald didn't produce nearly as much with some of the other quarterbacks outside of Kurt Warner and Carson Palmer.
Produced as much, but he still played pretty well, man. If you look at the numbers.
If you look at his numbers, he did. Whenever those guys weren't there. Arguably his second best year was with the poo-poo platter. Let me get those quarterback names for you. But I also had a disagreement with you over Drew Brees. Because you said he's and Tom Brady. I think Drew Brees will eventually get in, but I think people forget Drew Brees didn't become Drew Brees until he got with Sean Payton and his system.
But that's the same thing you could say with. But that's the same thing that you could say with Brady and Belichick. That's why I mentioned Brees. If we're looking at both of their numbers side by side, and we're talking about systems. I know Belichick isn't known for his offensive prowess, but the system has stayed the same despite a rotating cast of players and a rotating cast of offensive coaches. The common denominators there are Brady and Belichick. Now, let's dig a little bit deeper. We look at Brady, we know he's not a deep ball guy, and we know that his teams are regularly in the top in yak. Let's go deeper than that. Now, we also know that, and I hope we know this, that yak is more on the receiver than the quarterback. So now that we know those 3 things, why does Brees get knocked for a system and not for Brady? That's my question. So in the context
longer. Drew Brees had 3 years, I think, where he did much of nothing in San Diego, had 1 decent year in San Diego, and then got to the Saints. He's had more bad years than Tom Brady has had bad years. He's had more bad years than Tom Brady's had injured years.
I wouldn't.
That's the main factor that you forget.
I would disagree with that, though, because Brees made the Pro Bowl in his last year before he went to New Orleans. So I don't know.
He said he had 1 good year. They drafted Phillip Rivers because he was playing poorly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I don't necessarily know if he was playing poorly though. I wouldn't agree. I don't agree. Huh?
Why would you take Phillip Rivers in the first round if Drew Brees was playing well?
Because they didn't have faith in Brees and they didn't want to pay him, and it just made it easier when he tore his labrum in the Pro Bowl. That's what I'm saying.
Then they have faith.
Like they already had Phillip Rivers when he tore his labrum.
Okay, my bad. Rivers was drafted
He got drafted the year before.
Mm-hmm.
Rivers was okay. My bad. Rivers was drafted in 2004. He tore his labrum in what? The 2006 Pro Bowl or the 2005 Pro Bowl?
2005, I believe.
2005. Okay, so what? That was 1 year.
While Drew Brees was still playing before he got hurt, they drafted him.
Okay,
at number 3, so he wasn't playing too well.
Okay, so my thesis is on that. Then, knowing the right information, I don't think. Gosh, I wish my computer was working. I don't think it was because Brees was playing badly. I honestly don't think that they wanted to pay him as a free agent. Now, did his play have something to do with that? Of course. He wasn't Drew Brees now in San Diego. I agree with that part, but he won't bad.
What do you disagree on?
Yeah, that's all we said.
In the context of what I'm saying,
San Diego isn't the same.
I know, I agree with that part. But what I'm saying is, if you're looking at Brees and Brady, and I don't know how you knock Brees for the system and not knock Brady for the system. At least Brees throws the ball down the field on occasion.
It's hard to argue 17 years of success.
But this is what I think you're forgetting that you're just omitting is Drew Brees has had that same head coach in Sean Payton / offensive coordinator running that system. Bill Belichick wasn't the offensive coordinator. The offensive coordinators, the offensive systems have changed throughout Tom Brady's tenure in New England. So you can't say it's the system. The only thing that stay consistent is the head coach who doesn't run the offense. So how can you say it's the same system? It's just Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick runs the defense, and the system has changed because when they had Randy Moss, they had a whole different system. There was 3 wide. Then they got Aaron Hernandez and Gronk, and they went to 2 tight ends. And then before that, they were going to more of a I formation, the traditional offense, because they didn't trust Brady as much. So the offense has changed consistently throughout his whole entire career. The only thing that stayed the same is Bill Belichick has been the head coach.
But the type of throws that he's made have not changed. So yes,
that's what he's comfortable with.
So, but that's my point. He's not asked to make the throws that Drew Brees are. And if we're comparing quarterbacks at the highest level, you have to nitpick. I'm not saying Brees is definitely better than Brady. What I'm saying is there's an argument for it, especially considering the context of the throws. Is Brees helped by?
We're not comparing quarterbacks at the highest level. We're talking about who's a Pro Bowler and who's produced better. Like I think you're trying to make an argument where it's not there. The throws for Brees are simpler because they're going 4 and 5 wide. So you're getting one-on-ones with linebackers. You're getting one-on-ones with safeties. They're having these guys running wide open because of the system he's in. With Brady, yeah, he's dinking and dunking, hitting those short throws. But why would he consistently throw when he doesn't have a Brett Favre type arm? Why, that wouldn't make sense. Not how are you gonna knock him for mastering what he does well. And as far as Larry Fitzgerald, where this first started off with, 2011, he had 80 catches, 1,400 yards, which is the second 1,411 yards, which is the second most yards he had in his entire career, and that's with John Skelton, Kevin Cobb, and Richard Bartle. Richard Bartels
as his quarterback. So he produced with terrible guys.
Yeah, but it took him 100 and how many targets? It was like 154, like almost.
But to your point where you're saying, well, he's getting 10, 11 yards a catch, he was averaging 17.6 yards of reception that year.
Okay, but that's true, and I'll give him that. That's really cool.
But somehow there's still a but.
Yeah. Oh, there's definitely a but because it took him 100 and I believe it was 150,
154 targets, but
154.
But it doesn't for overthrows, underthrows, bad throws, throws
And
to
that-
the other throws.
and that
He
also
was catching balls from Dante
again-
Culpepper.
And again, that also doesn't account for the times that they threw it to him, and he doesn't drop the ball, so I don't give him that. I mean, I won't put that on him,
Right.
but that it doesn't account for the times where they made good throws, but they were difficult throws because he couldn't separate. It didn't count for that too. It would take a real exhaustive study to look and see. I don't, because he's not really been an extremely high efficient wide receiver for his career, especially considering that he doesn't run deep routes. That's what I mean when I talk about dominance. Again, he's consistently productive, and it's not just consistently productive in a Jarvis Landry kind of way. Larry Fitzgerald is a one or was a one. So I'm not diminishing what he's doing. That's what I need y'all to understand that. I'm not diminishing what he's doing. I'm just saying that for the most part of his career, he's been probably at the 98th, 95th percentile of possession receivers. And for me personally, I want my wide receivers to threaten down the field. Reggie Wayne was similarly slow, but he got deep too. And again, was that because of Peyton Manning? Again, that's what I'm saying. Like, we got to look at everything, and we need to have an exhaustive study if that's something we want to do. I'm just saying, if we're just looking at numbers in production, even with the context of the quarterbacks, there's a case that could be made. That's all I'm saying.
I think that'd be a good thing.
An exhaustive study for
exhaustive
what,
study
though?
because
I mean, he was one of the best at what he did, whatever it was that you want to say he did, whether it be a possession receiver or whatever, for 13 years. Like, he's been doing this for a long time.
Okay, let me ask y'all a question. Is Keyshawn Johnson a Hall of Famer? What separated him from Larry Fitzgerald?
I don't
he
think
didn't produce like Larry Fitzgerald. Just being a possession receiver doesn't make him a Hall of Famer.
He didn't do it for nearly as long. And I don't feel like he had the same level of success with it. Keyshawn was a really exciting guy to watch for years, but he wasn't.
He was never. He wasn't close to his level.
I
honestly think it would have been a better thing to bring up Andre Johnson or something like that. And then,
but Andre Johnson threatened down the field. But my knock with Andre Johnson is he had a problem getting into the end zone. He never had a double-digit reception season. Again, his quarterbacks and the weapons around him played a factor in that. But there are other receivers who, again, with similar quarterback situations and things like that, could make their way to the end zone more.
Who?
Then Andre Johnson. If I'm not, and you can confirm this, I think his highest touchdown season was 8.
For Andre Johnson?
Yeah, I think it was 8. I think that was in 2009, I believe. Again, this is just off the top of my head. He was more of a possession receiver with speed. I'll give him that. He could run.
His most 9 in 2009. He had 9 in 2009.
It was 9. Okay. Similar wide receivers who've had similar and still produced.
And granted, you also got to remember he was putting up 1,500 yards basically every year.
But he averaged 13, 14, 15 yards a catch too. And he was
13.4. Yeah.
And he was securing more of his targets than Larry Fitzgerald. So you're right. That was probably that was probably a better example that I should have used, probably.
Yeah, because Keyshawn Johnson's highest yardage was 1,200, and that was it. I think he's on the cusp. I think he needed a few more years. But to your point of the quarterbacks, you don't have if you look at the all-time greats, they all had a very good to great quarterback to go along with. Look at Jerry Rice. He played with what, 4 different quarterbacks? Played with Steve Young, played with Joe Montana, Rich Gannon, and Jeff Garcia throughout his entire career.
I think he had Elvis Grbac too, if I'm not mistaken. Steve Bono.
And I'm talking about like with extended time.
Okay.
I'm not talking 1 or 2 games. I'm talking about a season.
Okay, so
T.O. and Randy Moss.
Yeah, T.O. is probably the best example of somebody who didn't. But T.O. played with McNabb.
As good as T.O.
T.O. played with McNabb.
He did, yeah.
T.O. played with Jeff Garcia when he was good. He also, what you said, Romo, right?
Yeah,
a young Romo though. It wasn't Romo now. It was a young Romo.
Well, Romo now is a corpse. So
true. 2014 Romo.
Okay. Yeah,
I think that's wrong though. Your assertion that similar receivers could produce with similar quarterbacks. Most receivers, you're shackled. I think that's why it's so high, because if you don't have a decent quarterback, you can't produce. Johnson, he was a beast. Calvin Johnson was an anomaly. You typically don't get quarterback from receivers if they don't have a quarterback. Randy Moss, a prime example. He went to Oakland and people thought he was done. Then he resurrects his career when he get with Tom Brady and breaks the record. So
also
you have to have a quarterback.
Want to be in Oakland, so that plays a part in it too.
He plays when he wants to play.
Right.
Straight cash, homie. Straight cash.
I mean, Josh Gordon had one of the best seasons in recent memory with Brandon Wheaton.
1 year though. It's not sustained. 1 year. I agree with you. For 1 year, that's possible, but not to sustain over an entire career.
I think
DeAndre Hopkins this year is not producing, and he has what people think is better than Brian Hoyer.
I think I just had this person's name on the tip of my tongue, and I really just
Brandon
lost
Marshall. Brandon Marshall.
He's one, but
I give you that.
Patrick actually had a good season last year. He really did.
Because of Brandon Marshall.
It was one other wide receiver too, and it was literally just on the tip of my tongue. It wasn't Calvin Johnson.
You got a team.
It was really just on the tip of my tongue, and I really forgot it.
Can you help us out?
A team conference?
Is he short?
I can't believe
Steve Smith produced with Jake Delhomme, so that's a good thing.
He did.
He was another guy I was gonna put on my list, by the way.
Me too. I couldn't get him in though.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if Steve Smith gets in. I don't. I love him.
It's tough.
I don't know if I don't know, because again, I look at dominance. When was he really the year he won the Triple Crown as a receiver? I think that was 2005. I think he's a 3-time All-Pro. That might be enough to get him in. I look at All-Pros for a level of dominance.
Yeah.
But you're looking. How long are you looking at dominance though? Because the guys you said have been maybe 4 years, but these other guys are if they're having 10 years of consistent greatness, I think that supersedes 3 or 4 years of dominance.
I agree.
I mean,
if you're great, if you got a couple years where you're the top dog, that's cool. But if you're not constantly up there, if it's up and down, that doesn't really matter.
I just think for me in football, with careers being shorter, I think 4 years of dominance and then 4 or 5 years of dominance, because football is volatile with their production anyway. So I look at somebody like Brandon Marshall. Brandon Marshall didn't really dominate maybe 1 or 2 seasons, but I don't know if he gets in either.
Now, when you say 4 or 5 years of dominance, does that matter compared to how long he plays? Because if a guy's dominant for 4 or 5 years and he plays for 14, that doesn't really impress me that much. If he plays 6 and has 4 or 5 dominant years, that's a little different.
But see, okay, but then that's the Terrell Davis thing. Terrell Davis should be in the Hall of Fame, but he's not. Even though there's a precedent for it with Gale Sayers. You can't tell me Gale Sayers dominated more than Terrell Davis.
Probably not.
Nah.
And I might be biased, but Terrell Davis was a beast on game day. Like, you couldn't tackle him. So I mean, and then you look at the numbers.
Marshall's numbers.
Oh
man.
My God, Marshall,
great, but God dang, it's hard not to have him in. Christ.
Who?
Brandon Marshall.
Other than his rookie year, he's had 1,000 yards every year, except the team when he got hurt and he missed 3 games. Other than that, he's had 1,000 yards every year.
The only reason he doesn't get more love than he does is because people don't like his personality.
That dude's a monster, man.
And I don't even care about the personality. You got some, I don't want to say bad people, but you have some interesting characters.
You got some races in the Hall of Fame. Shit.
Yeah. I'm still trying to think of this wide receiver who's been consistently.
If you give me a team name, I could something conference division.
Name some good wide receivers.
Receivers.
Not just today, but I mean they could be playing today, but just in general.
That's broad.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Any who've been consistently good. I know a couple who are at good seasons and hit and miss it here and there, but
you can just start naming off random wide receivers if you want to. I could just start, Michael Westbrook, Yancey Thigpen. You just start naming random receivers if that's
David Boston.
Really what you want. David Boston.
No, I want to get back to what we were discussing. We got on the show, Alan, with Antonio Gates. I think that's a real good one we should discuss. Mm-hmm. While I think he could be a Hall of Famer, I think he's hurt a lot because, like I said, he's stuck in between the Tony Gonzalez and the Gronk era. With Tony Gonzalez, so he was never the best tight end, and then when he could have took over, Gronk came along. So you said you got Jason Witten in yours. I think he's better than Jason Witten. Well, at least as a receiver, but as an overall tight end, Jason Witten, ridiculous. So I think this era might have a lot of tight ends left off because, I mean, there's not that many tight ends in the Hall anyway, and then you got Tony Gonzalez and Gronk. Jimmy Graham was on that plateau, but he's fallen off since he's been in Seattle.
He's having a pretty good season this season, though. Not Hall of Fame-ish, but I think he's still got some years.
They've got to use him more.
Mm-hmm. I think they got a lot of things they need to do. But I
get Marshawn Lynch out of retirement.
Yeah. But for me, talking about comparing Gates to Witten, the thing I think that's going to hurt Gates is the fact that, he's been hurt so often. I feel like it's been a really long time since you listed dominant tight ends and put his name on that list. He's always that, well, if this guy's healthy, he might be dominant. But when is the last time you really was just like, Antonio Gates is a guy that you're afraid of every week? I think that perception is going to hurt him more than anything.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think that's more recency bias than anything, though. I don't necessarily think like he's hurt. He's been hurt for sure, but like He played 15, 15, 15, 16, 16, 16, 16, 10, 13, 15, 16, 16, 11, 5. So I don't necessarily know if durability was really an issue. Like then,
How many of those seasons did he play hurt and not
I don't
produce like he was?
I don't necessarily know if that matters. Like he wasn't better than Tony. Like he wasn't better than
Nah.
Tony.
Not at
But
all.
well, I mean, he's not better than Gronk either. But I mean, Gronk came in what, 2010?
Yeah, I think so. 2009, something like that.
But by
Yeah,
then,
'cause he had a couple years where he was hurt.
Yeah, he came in hurt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, back issues or something like that, didn't he?
like Gronk,
Yeah, back is came out in 2010 was his rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
That dude's a monster, man.
Gronk,
It's ridiculous what he's done.
I mean, Gates has had seasons where he's had 13 TDs, 10, 9, 9, 8, 8, 10, 7, 7. I mean, 12 in 2014. Really, his last really good season was 2014.
Wow,
That's why I
he's
said I think that's recency bias.
Because when at his best he was great, but I mean, you look at his numbers, and he's got a lot of catches. He's got 10,000 yards, but
right.
He's been. You were just saying about receivers. That's what he is. He was never. He's been consistently great.
Right.
So, and he was never the best. Part of that's being in playing for San Diego or what, but I don't know.
I wouldn't be upset if he got left off the list if he didn't make it. It wouldn't hurt my feelings.
I'd understand.
Speaking of wide receivers, why isn't Jimmy Smith in the Hall of Fame?
I don't know.
I think just because of where and when he played.
That's crap. Jimmy Smith got busy.
Jimmy Smith was sick.
I'm not disagreeing with you at all.
And his numbers are Hall of Fame worthy, especially if you factor in that offense then, which was not completely all passing. Like his numbers were comparable to Michael Irvin's. Now, the Cowboys ran a lot more, but I don't know why Jimmy Smith's not in the Hall of Fame. So like we talk about guys not in the Hall of Fame or potentially going. And again, I know that's
the league for a while.
I know, and I know it's a throwback for sure. Some of our fans may not.
I mean, like Pro Football Reference. It has 92 his rookie year, but it from 92 to nothing. So was he out of the league during that time?
Yeah, I think he was suspended for
back in 95
or something. Yeah.
Okay, then he came back in 95 with Jacksonville, and from 95 to 2005, he went off.
Yeah.
I remember him and Keenan McCardell, those two together were sick in Jacksonville.
Keenan McCardell was my guy. Yeah, it's hard to really explain why.
I guess because it's a log jam at receiver.
Yeah. I think popularity plays a big part in receiver because, like you said, there are so many, whether that's right or not.
And I just think that, I mean, you really have to stand out, like to be like, you just need dominance. Like y'all got the computer there where y'all can actually look. I think we should look at the all pros, first and second team for the past maybe 5 or 10 years. And I think that'll explain it. Like I think like Antonio Brown is somebody, if he keeps this
up. What year you want to look at?
Start at what? It's 2016. So start from 10 years prior.
Turner, you want to look at last year first? Last year's All-Pro team? Or?
Yeah, because I think it was it was Antonio Brown, and was it AJ Green or Julio? It was Brown and Julio, right?
For 2015, hold on, let me go. It was, come on. Yeah, Julio and Antonio Brown.
Okay.
Both of them, I think, will be, if they can stay consistent. Pretty much no problem.
And I think 2014 it was Antonio and was it AJ?
Is left off, man. Man, Game 7 of the World Series. Oh man, how crazy would that be if they give up a 3-1 lead?
It would be very Cleveland of them, if we're gonna be honest.
Oh wow.
It was Antonio Brown and Des Bryant.
Okay, that's right.
Did you say AJ Green's been it recently?
No, and I think that's a problem. He should be first team this year, though, if he keeps it up.
Yeah, he should be.
He absolutely
The
should
year
be.
before that, 2013, it was Antonio and Julio. 2015. Pro Football Reference need to get the data. If I hit next season, that means next season. AJ Green I remember when they came out. Actually, when they came out of high school, it was Julio and AJ Green linked together. It's coming out of high school. They were the top two high school. Before that was Calvin Johnson and Josh Gordon. Second team that year. That's 2013. AJ Green was second team with Antonio Brown. Johnson and Brandon Marshall. Second team again. Second teams.
Which is
Johnson and Wes Welker. I mean, Calvin Johnson was a lock for pretty much his entire career.
I mean, because of the fact that with his size and athleticism, he was dominant.
Quarterback who threw it to no one else. Oh, made it? Are you serious?
Yeah, he had that one good year.
But it's funny because he's having his best year without Megatron. So, yeah, I mean,
I think he's been forced to though.
Yeah.
To the players, it's Megatron.
Which has been good for him, I think. Because before this year, you know, I've never been a big fan of his.
Me either.
But this is really the year. It seems like I think that, you know, he's kind of forcing all the doubters to say, look, you know, I can actually play this position. I'm worth this money.
Do y'all think Brady should get the MVP? This is off topic. Do y'all think Brady should get MVP? If
Are we talking right now?
Yeah, I mean, just when the season ends. I don't. My take is, even if you don't play 16 games, if you have more value than someone who does, you should get it. But Matt Ryan's been on fire, so I don't know if Brady should get it if Matt Ryan keeps up what he's doing. But
I think Matt Ryan.
If Brady's value is in 12 games is more than Matt Ryan's in 16, I could understand him getting it. I don't necessarily know if I would agree, only because it was Brady's fault. Well, not really his fault. But you know what I mean? But I'm not against players missing games and still getting MVP as long as they have the value to trump.
I think he.
And I think he will. I think he will.
I could see him getting it. Because what ridiculous, and I'm sure, but right now, I don't know where that's gonna come from. Lose another one.
The Patriots or the Falcons?
to, I guess. Oh, the Falcons, I don't see them making the playoffs. Well, their division's terrible, but
yeah,
this isn't hitting on all cylinders. They're gonna lose because their defense is terrible.
Mm-hmm. I'm kind of with you. I'm not huge on Matt Ryan as when you start talking about MVP. The team's obviously doing really well right now, but I don't know if they'll keep it up for 16 games. Kind of like last year. In my opinion. Anyway, well, I think that's all we've got. I want to thank everybody for their time, for watching us. Tune in with us again next week. Follow us on Twitter. Find us on Facebook. I'm going to go ahead and sign out. Say goodbye, everybody.
All right. Thanks for joining us.